everyone. Welcome to the newest episode of FFS. This is a podcast where Asta and I discuss all the thoughts that keep us up at night and make us giggle during the day. I'm Vishrita and I'm logging in from Houston, Texas.
I'm Asta and I'm logging in from Chandigarh, India. So let's get all cocked up for friendship's sake. Right?
Yeah. So tell me, Asta, what's the week been like? What do you want to talk about today?
My week's really exciting because I'm headed to vacation.
Mm.
I'm going on a vacation that is solely dedicated to food and slow living. So I'm revisiting some cities I've been to before. And I've
Yeah.
been packing for it because as usual I haven't packed. But for a change this time I have clothes that fit. That's generally my biggest problem for every trip.
Mhm.
I can see a wardrobe full of clothes, but either I don't like how they look on me,
Yeah.
or they simply don't fit for me to see. They look good on me.
Yeah.
It's a
And
struggle.
And
Yeah.
like for me also, like that's so relatable because last week we had like a family event sort of thing, and yeah, every time like something like this comes up, right? Especially with festive Indian wear, because you don't wear it every day.
Yeah.
You have to pick up
Yeah.
something that was like stitched or bought like long ago, and then you wear it, and
Yeah.
it's like a reminder of how you were,
Of the
how you are
size you
now.
used to be.
Yeah, and also that and like around family sometimes, like even when it's not meant in like a malicious way, people tend to say things like, oh, you've gained weight, this is not fitting you.
Oh yeah.
And there's always a reasoning attached to it, right? Like for
Yeah.
example, my mom was here visiting me, so like someone told me the other day that, oh, you've gained weight, probably because your mom's here and you're eating good food.
I find myself giving a reason when someone says it to me. Even if
Mm.
I don't owe them a reason. I don't know anybody a reason for change, for any change in how I look. But if somebody says, you've gained weight, or even if someone says, oh, you've lost weight, I feel like there's a need to explain that, oh, this change has been made or has happened. Like I've been working very late, or school has been hectic, or XYZ. There's always,
Yeah.
I feel like, and even if someone doesn't, like I was mentioning, right, packing for a trip, these instances tend to always bring up body image issues for me. And I think I have been battling them for a really long time. Initially, I didn't even know that I had body image issues. I think until I was well into my teens, like 16 or 18, did I actually realize that, okay, I do have body image issues. I always thought I was a super confident girl and, these things didn't affect me because I never had, fortunately, I never had harsh bullying. Like I wasn't harassed for my weight or for the way I looked or anything like that. But there were those jokes, those sort of, and like thinly veiled comments on my weight. And, I didn't realize how they were affecting me, but they were.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, you're right. It takes a while for people to understand that even though sometimes they might feel insecure or
Yeah.
not happy about the way they look, to be able to recognize that yes,
Yeah.
it has an impact on me, and
Yeah.
more often than not, it has an impact on a lot of other things, other aspects of your life,
Yeah.
right? From
Absolutely.
your relationship with food, from your relationship with fashion and styling, and like all these other conversations that happen within family and friends, and even sometimes like random strangers who haven't seen you in like 15 years who come and comment on your body, and then you don't know
Yeah.
how to react to that. And a lot of the times you don't know how to react to that because even they technically come from a place of care.
I
So
think I don't agree, now with certain people I'm able to make that differentiation. But for the longest time I would just laugh it off. I would just ignore it and like compartmentalize it, or maybe just crack a stupid joke about them in return to feel normal about
Yeah.
myself. Like I've genetically always had really big arms, and I know I've been made fun of for it, and I would
Yeah.
brush it off and not maybe just say something equally stupid in return to to feel grounded or to feel okay and to actually feel
Yeah.
like, okay, this is a joke. But it affected me. I didn't wear sleeveless clothes until I was 21. Right. I was so
Yeah.
conscious of them.
Yeah.
I didn't wear
No,
them, and I never wore
I
it.
you're right, because it's also a way for us internally to not want to address the fact that,
Yeah,
people are commenting on your body, so you want to think of it as a joke. I mean, this is what we should talk about today. Let's break it down.
absolutely.
Let's talk about how we as individuals,
Yeah,
handle body image issues and insecurities, and how to be empathetic to other people when we have these
yeah,
interactions, right? Because
yeah,
we're not, completely right, in the
absolutely
sense,
not.
we don't have the
Yeah,
complete understanding of how to talk to people
yeah.
when we talk about their bodies, um how
It's a
we would not.
cons. It's a constant learning process.
Yeah.
And I think, at least in my family, I have seen my mom get
Mm,
better. She used to
mm,
be one of those people who would be very obsessed with weight and size and everything, and I've
yeah.
seen over the years how she's learned how to talk differently, how to think differently, and that just makes me feel like there's constantly room for improvement, regardless of how old you are or whether you're thin or you're fat or whatever. There's just room to be more
Yeah.
empathetic, like you said.
Yeah. But before we start off, I just wanted to like kind of talk about what body image itself is, because
Yeah,
I didn't have a full understanding of it for the longest time. For the most part, I would always think it has to do with weight and,
yeah,
um calling someone fat or calling someone thin, but there's so many aspects to it. There's, like, well, people address people as skinny versus thin has a difference, big versus fat has a difference, and other than the weight angle itself, there's like, skin issues or
yeah,
disabilities. There are so many different things that people are insecure about.
yeah.
So how would you say that over time your, thought process about like body image issues and insecurities, one, for yourself, and two, how you think about it in general, has changed over time, like from childhood to today?
I think the first, and like I mentioned, for the longest time, I just understood it as fat and thin. That's
Mm,
all. Um, as I grew up and I educated myself a little bit more on this, the first thing I learned, or actually I'm still learning to do, in all honesty, is to accept that my body is a certain way. I am somebody who's broad framed, so I'm never going to look petite. And it was really important for me to understand and truly accept that, to just set the right expectations out of my body, out of, I can exercise all I want, but I'm not
mm,
going to look petite, because that, like, I can't change my bone structure. And I also understood that this is a cycle. What I mean by that is, I will gain weight, I will lose weight. It's a cycle that'll keep happening. I'll get acne every once in a while, and then there'll be days where my skin's super clear. And
yeah.
understanding and again accepting that, okay, this is a cyclical thing for me, and with the other aspects of my life changing, this is something that will change as well. And to keep peace with it has been extremely challenging, but also helped me sort of find peace with my body and my body image. And I think the third change that I would say um I've had is should I forgot to the third thing I wanted to say was
That's okay. um
but
I I actually feel like when you spoke about how things have over changed over time, right? I also think that has a lot to do with what we see and what we're exposed to, both in real life, in media, what people around us are talking about. And that's why, like, for me personally, I think especially growing up when I was smaller, like anything you saw on TV or on movies, people were all like all the women, the beautiful women, were all waxed. They were hairless, and that in my head was set as the beauty norm, right? So I
Yeah.
remember as a teen, I there were years where I was just waiting for when my mom would say yes to let me
Waxing.
go get waxed. Um, so, and then when I finally did it, I felt like so nice and beautiful and all that. But then for the next few years, it was like a chore. Now I'm like, okay, like it's been 2, 3 weeks now to go get waxed. And when I was in college, I'm like, why am I spending so much money on this? But I also have to get it done because, that is like the basic
Yeah.
standard to look beautiful or whatever. But then I feel like after a while, and I think this also has to do with better portrayal in media and like us having these conversations with our friends and people being more accepting, people being flaunting their body hair. So today I feel a lot more comfortable not waxing. I go to work. I don't feel like I have to wax my arms and legs like all the time. If I feel like it, I will do it. If I don't, I don't. I don't, because I feel like there are some aspects with grooming where you're like, if you haven't waxed, or if you don't have your nails done, if you don't have your eyebrows done, it's almost considered like, oh, you're not well groomed.
Even hair. Like, have you noticed how um the idea of beautiful hair is always straight, slick, like what my hair look like
Yeah.
now after treatment,
Mm-hmm.
but natural, like voluminous curls, or those are always looked at as more either immature or frivolous. Or I was just reading this the other day where it said if you study all the popular sitcom and movie characters up until, say, early
Mm-hmm.
2000s, even if you look at, say, Friends, for example, you see Phoebe, who's supposed to be slightly, eccentric, has these
Yeah.
curly hair
Yeah.
that's slightly frizzy. And Rachel and Monica, who are supposed to be these really polished girls, have straight hair
Yeah.
that are completely combed, so it's so deeply imbibed and taught to us at every stage that, oh, if you want to be this ideal girl or this ideal person, you have to look a certain way. Even for boys, think about it, having like the perfect length of hair, and then your side should be trimmed, and like there's a very specific portrayal of what a well-groomed or well-kept person, teen, should be like versus what a
Yeah, like
other
I mean, there's
child
obviously
is.
like a capitalistic underlying theme to it, which everybody knows, but also like everybody reinforcing it. So I did business in undergrad, right? It was so funny in my college that so the at least like for some reason the women didn't have the dress code for women across majors was the same. But for the guys, the ones that were in like the business program had to wear like formal shirts and a tie.
Yeah,
And I don't understand wearing a tie at all in
that too
general.
in
I'm like,
school.
I don't think it's a thing anymore. And that too, yeah, in college and in like Bangalore. I'm not saying that's like the hottest place, of course not, but it's still not like cold
Yeah,
enough to walk around with a tie all
and it's
day, right?
not needed.
It's not. And the funny part is people who are in like arts and other more like
They don't have
liberal
it.
arts classes, they can wear a kurta and walk around. I'm like, I understand that clothes have an impact on you. Like for
Yeah,
example, I know days where I'm like, I feel I wear something more summery and chill, and like I
yeah,
feel like that. And then I wear something more formal, and I feel confident enough to go to a presentation or something like that.
yeah,
But that has to be something the person chooses. I understand you need to
yeah.
have a certain dress code to maintain decorum inside a college and all that, but What is this?
For some reason, we've set these really specific ideas of how you should be dressed in a um, particular setting,
Mhm.
that anything, even if it's not obscene or inappropriate or anything
Mhm.
slightly deviating from it is
Yeah.
looked at, is in fact in today's day and age celebrated as, oh, that person's using fashion to express themselves.
Mm.
Yeah, because that's what it's supposed to be. Like, that's
Yeah.
exactly why there's something called personal style. And
Yeah.
that's irrespective of your body size, your color. I understand that, okay, there's color theory and some colors look good on you and whatever. But if you like white, you wear white,
Yeah, I mean, I feel
you
like
know?
the look good on you itself is, laid out by someone who thinks that is the standard norm of beauty, right? Like, for
Yeah.
example, I know like certain colors look good on me because it match my undertones and makes my face glow. But
Yeah.
sometimes, yeah, like for example, I love black. Black might not be the color that matches with my undertones, but it makes me feel good, right? So
Yeah, that's all that's important.
yeah, and I mean, all of this, I feel like as much as we talk about society and media and all of these external factors, especially growing up, I think family and your first circle, your closest circle also has an impact on this.
Yeah.
Because a lot of this also stems from their ingrained ideas of
Yeah.
what is right, what is beautiful. Like, for example, I've heard this from my mom when I was younger, where she would always be like, oh, dress in a way that it doesn't like make people turn around and look at you or like bother them, or there are ways, like different ways she would put it. And I would always think about it like, you mean anything could bother people, right? I could
Yeah.
just be wearing ankle length pants and they could be like, oh, why is she showing her ankle? So
Yeah.
you don't know what will like bother people. um
Absolutely.
so and I think over time, like I've seen my mom's evolution of how she started accepting these things, and even like she's become more open to wear different kinds of clothes today for
Yeah.
herself.
Yeah.
And because I mean, obviously understand the fact that she was also concerned about my safety, and rightfully so. But the idea that you're constantly thinking about what bothers the other person is not right. So
Yeah.
tell me about how your like first circle you think has influenced you when it comes to this.
A lot, for sure. Uh, like I said, I got a lot of thinly veiled comments.
Mm.
It would be something as simple as uh, kids saying, "Oh, listen to her, or she'll sit on you," or something like, "Oh, if you sit on it, it'll break."
Mm.
And you laugh it off at that point in time, but it stays with you
Yeah.
in some tiny part of your brain. It stays with you, and what it does is, when you think about yourself in any space, you start feeling like, oh, I'm occupying so much space. And
Yep.
that of course doesn't give you any confidence at all. And um, like you said, as parents, they are worried about you for sure. And so I got a lot of, oh, you should go to the gym, you should work out, why don't you exercise? I get it. I get where you're coming from, but I didn't like to go to the gym. I still don't like to go to the gym. I will go and work out. If I have like a workout buddy or something, I'll go to the gym. But there are other ways of exercise that I like a lot more. But I didn't know that back then. So I hated going to the gym. And I kept getting pushed and kept getting told, oh, you're putting on weight, go to the gym, you won't be healthy later on. You'll have problems, health problems and stuff like that. I get it. But as a child, when you're constantly told that, it's difficult to understand where they're coming from. and I wouldn't take pictures. There
Yeah.
are years in my life where there are such few pictures of me, and then there are years in my thin face where there
Mm-hmm.
is just rampant pictures,
Yeah.
selfies, mirror selfies, and whatnot. Because at that time I like looking at myself.
Yeah.
And um, all of this is because of what I heard people around me say.
Yeah. No, from what you said, I think the one thing that I really want to reemphasize is people constantly saying, like this is the means to look healthy or be healthy, right? I think it's very important for everybody to understand that you cannot constantly keep confusing, like how someone looks to either health or grooming, because they're
Yeah.
all different things.
That was the third thing I
And
wanted to say. That was
okay.
it.
Oh my god. Eureka.
Yeah, literally this was it. That understanding that being thin does not mean you're healthy, or being fat does not mean that you're unhealthy,
Yeah. Or anything
was
else.
a game
Having
changer.
acne doesn't mean
Yeah,
that they don't care about
absolutely.
their skin or they don't are clean. It just has like that's the thing, right? There's so many different factors that affect your body. It could be, like what you eat, and what you eat doesn't necessarily always mean it's all under your control. Right?
No.
There are people are in different stages of their lives where it's not fully possible to take full control of what you're able to
Yeah.
eat. Like for example, my brother was telling me like he was in a different place, different city where he was like working, and there he was able to like get the right food that he wanted to eat. Like he wanted to have like protein rich food because he was working out and he could get all that. But then
Yeah.
inside his college campus, it was not possible to get the exact kind of food he wanted to
Yeah.
eat because the campus is set up to give like a generic type of food to
Of
everyone.
course.
So as much as he wants to be healthy, not all the circumstances are always going to line up in a way that you can get
Absolutely.
exactly what you want. And that does not in any way mean that he's not taking care of himself. He's trying his best.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think,
Listen,
and
not just that, if say you're somebody who travels to work, your mode of transportation,
yeah,
you go by a local train or an auto rickshaw or a bus versus you
mm-hmm,
go by a private car, your skin will completely change.
yeah,
You
yeah,
could have the same 15 steps skincare routine, go to a dermatologist and get every Korean facial spa treatment possible. You will still have bad skin if you are exposed to pollution and
yeah.
sun more than the average person.
Comes back to the privilege you have, right? Like, so shaming someone for the way they look has so many different layers to it when you think about it, and it's
Yeah.
not all under their control. Just because they eat healthy food and go to the gym twice a day, it's not like everything is going to fix itself.
No.
um yeah, so I think that's definitely something we would keep talking about throughout this episode. But like on a positive note, I just wanted to ask you, was there a moment in your life where you felt liberated? You felt like, I like the way I look. Like it
Yeah.
you know.
I think I have two, and I'll tell you why they're both different. The first one was a few years ago. I
And
went to Goa on a trip with my friends, and I was so scared of uh, being body shamed, or I was so scared of what people would think of seeing me in a swimsuit. I didn't carry a swimsuit.
mm,
And I told myself that, these people are just saying they're not going to go swim anywhere. There's no need.
mm,
And I went there, and my friends were like, nothing doing. We're getting you a swimsuit. And as soon as we landed, they took me to a shop, bought me a swimsuit. And even after I changed into it and I was walking to the pool in our hotel, I was so nervous.
mm,
I, in a split second, have gotten out of my towel and into the pool. And over the next 2-3 days that we were there, I sort of came out of my shell and then
yeah,
was a lot more comfortable on the beach. and I could really enjoy myself. And I was going to a nutritionist at that time. I sent her a picture and said, I'm so thankful to you for getting me to a stage where I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
So I had worked really hard to get myself in shape for whatever that definition is, but to feel better about my body. And I was there. And then the other moment is when I wasn't in my best shape, but I
Mm-hmm.
had no qualms, and that was when we went to Puerto Rico,
Mm-hmm.
and we just all day, every day, we were in swimsuits and we were in shorts, and
Yeah.
we were just enjoying ourselves, and it didn't matter. I don't think I even gave it a single second thought that, oh, I'm not in my best shape.
No, I
Oh.
fully agree because I feel like Puerto Rico was it for me. Um, because
Yay.
I think the reason is nobody cared. Like
Yeah.
nobody had to come say, "Oh, you look hot or you look beautiful." Nobody
Yeah.
just cared. Like how you look
No
did
one cared.
not
I agree.
matter at all, and
I
no one
agree.
cared. Also, from the sense that I don't know, like that world trip, I don't think anybody cared about how they look, and that also had an impact, right? Because you're just like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is not a thing you care about. You've come here to have fun. That's what you're gonna do."
Yeah.
And that day, I felt like I wouldn't have felt exactly the same way, even around like close family or because I feel like,
I'm
of course,
sorry for the
the
yawning.
family, they're not going to judge me, but
Yeah.
it's they might feel a little protective of me, or they might be like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe if you do this you will feel better, or things like that, right?
Yeah.
Because for example, I have stretch marks that like I feel insecure about sometimes, but I don't
Yeah.
know, none of those things matter in Puerto Rico, and that's exactly why every
Yeah.
time I look back, it's one of those like every time I stressed out, I feel like I teleport myself to La Peguera, and
Yeah.
I don't know, it just
Beautiful day.
yeah. So I think the way people around you like make you feel makes
Yeah.
all the difference.
You
Yeah.
know, for this one thing, props to America. Actually, props to, I mean, I've been to a bunch of, even like Australia for that matter, a bunch of these countries where no one will do a double take on you if you're wearing, of course, if you're wearing a bikini in the middle of winter in a grocery store, people will look at you, but otherwise, nobody will do a double take on you because you've chosen to wear short clothes or sleeveless clothes or backless clothes or things like that. Nobody cares. Like, do what you want. Like,
I say yes and no, because I feel like it has more to do with what people are used to in a setup,
yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like, for example, think of India, and I think I truly believe sari
Are
is
you
one
gonna
of
say
the
sari?
most no, it is a very sexy piece of clothing if you choose to wear it like
Absolutely.
that, right? So
Yeah.
and you can choose to wear it however you want. But what I'm trying to say is, irrespective of how old you are and how you wear your sari, and like it really doesn't matter. Like people won't bat an eye, irrespective
Yeah.
of how it's worn and who's wearing it, where
Yeah.
you're wearing it, doesn't matter. um Similarly, I feel like in some of these Western countries, people are a bit more used
Used
to
to. Yeah.
people wearing
Absolutely.
Western clothes and short clothes and all of that. But that said, maybe I think, again, like I said, it's just a little different. It's
Yeah.
not about like wearing shorter clothes here, but even here, I would feel uncomfortable with my stretch marks, or I agree for sure. And
Yeah.
and I think specifically with India, like from what I've seen, there is this notion of thinking, oh, like only if you're a certain if you have a certain type of
Yeah.
body can you wear like
Turn-up
dresses or
clothes. Yeah.
shorts, or which
Yeah.
is a very wrong notion, right? I
Yeah. I
think
don't know
I
who
think
put this in everybody's heads.
yeah, I think has a lot to do with, again, like what's shown on media, because like for an average Indian person who's not really traveled outside of India, what they see on TV is what it is. So, in the
Yeah.
most mainstream of media, of course, even in Western media, representation is not great. Of course, it's
Oh
getting
yeah.
better. It's not
Yeah.
great. So, I think that's where it kind of stems from.
Yeah.
But moving on, like I think we've talked about how it affects us, but I think it would be really important to also talk about how we've addressed it, just
Yeah.
outside of going to the gym or working on the specific concern itself. How have you worked on your relationship with your body? Like, how have you come to terms with accepting yourself, and being more, like just being more confident about yourself when people make these comments or bring up these
I love
conversations
how you're
unnecessarily?
assuming that I've reached
Or,
a stage of
are you in the
acceptance.
process of it? Sorry.
But I guess we fake it till we make it, right? So, um, I've started standing up for myself. Whether or not I believe it. In front of somebody else, I've stand up for
Mm.
myself. Someone says you put on weight. Yeah, I have. Like things have been happening. I put on weight. And that's okay. I'll only say that's okay. So the
Mhm.
other person does have a chance to
Yeah.
say something else. And I won't follow it up. I will deliberately not follow it up with, oh, I'll lose it again, or oh, I'm working
Mm.
on losing it. No. Yes, I put on weight. What's your point?
Mhm.
At the same time, um, I've started trying to look at my body and uh, just my instead of looking at it as okay, how many inches and how many kgs am I try to think of it as how much stamina do I have? How flexible am I? Am I healthy?
Mhm.
Am I eating well? Am I happy? Like, is my mental state okay? Because there are days when if I'm not in a good place mentally, I just want comfort food, and that's completely okay.
Mhm.
So a huge part of um, trying to come to terms with how I think of myself from a body image point of view has to do with my relationship with food. Because I'm a huge foodie. I love
Yeah.
cooking. I love eating. Um, and I came across this nutritionist of mine who taught me how to. She said, you don't have to cut down anything. You want to eat a mango, you
Mhm.
eat a mango. You want to eat cheese, you eat cheese. It's fine. But what you want to eat a pizza, you eat a pizza. She's like, okay, but if you're going to eat a pizza, I want you to add nutrition to it.
Mhm.
I'm not asking you to subtract. I'm not going to tell you have a thin crust or have a skinny crust or
Yeah.
anything. Just add a salad on the side. And that idea of nutrition by addition instead of subtraction was a game changer for me
Mm.
because I have done every diet you can think of. There was something called a General Motor diet. I've done that. I've done
Yeah.
keto. I've done low carb. I've done balance. There was one dietitian who took away all the protein, from my food. There was no dal in my entire
Mm.
thing. It was not great, clearly. I've done intermittent fasting. I've done everything that came
Yeah.
into the news and became sort of popular. I have tried. And I have reached a point where I refuse to do any of that again. I have found that intermittent fasting works for me in the sense that it doesn't compromise on any nutrition or anything like
Mhm.
that. So I'm okay to do it. That also with full flexibility.
Yeah.
But I have reached a point where I'm like, no, I will not stop eating carbs. I will not
Yeah.
stop
I
eating
think
dessert.
it's super important to find what works for you. And it's very, very different depending on your body, your lifestyle, your
Yeah.
likes and dislikes.
Yeah.
And I think the most important thing with this is the relationship you have with your body, like I said, affects so many other things. Like, I know if I'm not feeling great about the way I look, of course, it takes a toll on my work. Like, even if there is a day where I go to work and I don't um feel like I'm like looking my best, I instantaneously start feeling like I'm not going to do my best today. It's going to be a sluggish
Yeah.
day or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It takes a toll on, like you said, your relationship with food.
Yeah.
And that in turn means it takes a toll on your social life, right? Like, where can you go eat? Who can you go eat with? How often can you
Yeah.
go eat out? Things like that.
Yeah.
It takes a toll on your romantic relationships, of course. So I think there's so many things around body image issues, and again I come back to that is exactly why having a healthy conversation, a conversation that's not shameful with yourself and when you're talking to others, is super super super
Yeah.
important.
I think
um
educate yourself.
mhm,
Understand, like, when you said healthy dialogue with your body, especially for girls, please understand. I think it took me, and I'm still studying it up. How
yeah,
does my body change
over the month,
when with my
yeah,
menstrual cycle?
yeah,
How does I have started there are people who always lose weight when they're very stressed. And
mm,
the opposite, I will gain weight
mm,
even if I'm not eating when I'm stressed, I
yeah,
will gain weight. And I had to do a whole study on how cortisol works and how that affects your body and how do you balance it out. It's so important to know why you are feeling a certain way and to not blame your body for it. Don't, like, there's
mhm,
no, what is the point of hating our own body? It's the one keeping you going, whatever you're able to do, to whatever extent it's your body that's enabling it. So it took me a lot of time to um, know that there's a lot for me to learn about my body.
mhm.
And that's what's fostering a healthy internal dialogue for me, that, okay, I'm working on myself, it's okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just don't, as we talk about this, I don't want to not talk about like having that conversation with others, right? Because the kind of impact that it has is like crazy.
Yeah.
Recently I was talking to a friend and she lives in the US right now and she's lived in India for a while growing up. And she keeps going back to India. Her parents live there and everything. And she was telling me that, as much as I really like India, one of the reasons I'm a little hesitant to really move back is I feel like there will be a lot of comments made on my body, about my skin color, about the
Ouch.
way I look. And it stems from the kind of things she's heard growing up, right? I mean, I just feel like it's if you really want to ask them and know how they're doing, just ask how they're doing. Like, you don't have to
Yeah.
start with, oh, you've lost so much weight, how are you doing? No, no.
I
Let
think,
them decide that for themselves. And there are times where, like, people would know that I'm stressed. Say, when I was looking for a job, oh, there's acne, oh, like you're having hair fall. I think because it's because you're looking for a job. And I'm like, I'm already stressed. Just don't add to it, right? Like, if you can be there, support me, help me out, give me a referral, but
give
don't
me a
do this.
reference.
Yeah, yeah. So I and I was thinking about it. I mean, this woman does not want to move back to a country she likes because of this, right?
Yeah.
And similarly, like I'm aware of another example where um this kid was constantly like asked, why are you looking so skinny and why aren't you eating? Isn't your mom feeding you? And that this comes up a lot with couples as well. Isn't your wife feeding you? Isn't she making all this
Yeah. Oh
nonsense?
my God.
And 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 because of that, the child just became more avoidant of anything family, like
Yeah.
extended family related, right?
Yeah.
Just like, why would I go hang out there when I know this question's coming? I don't want to
Yeah.
address it. I
Yeah.
mean, like, they should have better understanding of genetics, and even if they
No,
don't, just don't ask it.
I think people who we meet and whose first observation about us is our weight or our skin or whatever, or how
Mhm.
any part of how we look, I think they themselves have a toxic relationship with their body image. They could be the perfect, have the clearest skin and everything, and
Mhm.
they could still have issues
Yeah.
or insecurities about their body we know nothing about. Even the fear of not having that perfect
Mm.
size and shape and look and color
All
and
their
whatever.
life. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think when you work on your own dialogue and your own understanding of how you feel about yourself, you automatically will stop caring about someone else. It will
Hmm.
come so naturally to you.
Yeah. Because I think if you base your love for yourself on on the way you look, and you're also going to want other people to do the same. But
Yeah,
again, it's not permanent. The way you look is
it's
never
not.
permanent. It's going to
It's
constantly
not.
change. So your love for
Absolutely.
yourself is going to fluctuate with it, which is not healthy at all.
Listen, I've actually given myself seasons. I have a fat season and I have a thin season. And like
No.
actual seasons, it comes and goes every year.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
But I think as we talk about this, it's also important to be, just mindful and empathetic when you know someone's going through this, right? When you know someone who has a bad relationship with themselves or has had issues with, easily shamed and that leaving a lasting impact on them. I think
Yeah.
it's important to listen without judgment and offer
Yeah.
whatever support you can, right?
Or
I
just
think,
honestly don't. Like just
yeah,
whatever you want to say, gulp it. There
yeah. I
are
mean that
so many.
is, I think that is the biggest takeaway from this
Yeah.
episode for me
If
is stop giving unsolicited advice. Just don't.
yeah, and you know,
Yeah.
if you absolutely have to comment on the way someone looks,
Yeah.
there are so many adjectives. You look happy, you look
Yeah.
healthy, you
Yeah.
look beautiful, you look handsome, I like what you're wearing, you're glowing. I don't know, I can
Yeah.
keep going
Yeah.
on. But like,
Yeah.
or simply say, it's so nice to see you. I promise you, nobody will miss your comment on how they look. Like, it's fine. You
I
don't
agree.
have to comment because I'm telling you, there are times where people have told me, "Oh, you've lost weight," and momentarily it makes me feel validated that okay, all the work
Mm.
I've done it has worked well. But the next time when they say that, "Oh, you've not lost weight or you've gained weight or whatever," because I know it's going to keep happening for me, it makes me feel bad. It makes me feel
Correct.
horrible. And there are people I have cancelled on meeting because I'm like, oh God, this person, the
Mm.
first thing they're going to say is either she's put on weight or she's lost. I'm not interested. Thanks a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah. See, if I wanted,
One thing that we've spoken about, um, the close circle, your friends and family and everything, and also, you know, the big screen and small screen even, representation of beauty. But one aspect and one activity where I very often found my body image issues cropping up in my head is
um,
online shopping. Every time I am trying to look for something and I'm thinking, I see this size S model who's 5'6", 5'7" in height, who doesn't have big hips or big arms or anything like that, modeling the dress, and I sit there wondering, but will this look good on me? And then after ordering it, it'll come, I'll try it on, and my idea of how it's gonna look on me
mm,
will not match the reality, and I will be so disappointed in myself
yeah.
that there will again have to be this internal dialogue about, no, it's okay, your body's fine, this is just not a good dress for you, blah 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 blah. And I think AI in this area is going to be such a game changer because
Mm.
brands, and I really hope brands adopt AI. See, I understand that okay, getting maybe no, maybe it's not economically viable for every brand to have plus size models. I will buy it. I will buy that argument. But AI,
No, but
you can
to be
use.
very, I understand, Asta. I understand the fact that you can't do every campaign separately for, all sizes.
Yeah.
But honestly, I also feel like if you think it's okay to bring an S size model for all the campaigns, why not mix it up? Why not just do so? And I in fact think it shouldn't be a thing where we're like, oh, we're bringing a bunch of plus size models, and now this is like one of the campaigns that we're showing to the world.
Like, you're not doing a great job. You don't deserve brownie points for being
And then,
inclusive. Like, you deserve negative points for not being inclusive, but you don't deserve brownie points for having one plus size model in your entire array of uh S size models. That's not
while
how this
they are
needs to work.
expecting all kinds of customers, right? Like
Yeah.
most of the brands that I know, there are brands in the US that only makes one size, like one small size
Yeah.
goods, like, and that also exists,
Yeah.
because that's the audience they're catering to. But for the most part, you know, even the brands that primarily only like show S size models are looking for all kinds of customers. So better cater to them. That's it. Like you're just
Yeah.
doing,
I'll tell you
yeah.
when, because you mentioned this shopping experience and depth. This comes up so strongly when you're going to get married.
Mm,
Bridal shopping is is like a minefield of
mm,
body image issues. Just, you don't know where you're gonna step and something's gonna blow up, because everything from fat tax
yeah.
saying, oh, but if for a bigger size we'll use more material. Okay, so
Yeah.
then for a small size you're using lesser material, no? So charge lesser. Or something like, oh, this cut won't look nice on you because you have big hips. Or something like, should we leave a little margin in case you put on weight? Or, why don't you come back in 3 months when you've lost the weight you want to lose? So many of these comments will come your way
Mm,
that the entire excitement of
yeah.
buying your wedding dress, at least momentarily, will be dampened.
Mm-hmm.
Brands, there's a very long way to go, okay, for all this, because there are so many people involved and etc
Yeah.
etc, so many touch points in the journey. But coming back, I really hope that this is, I think, the application of AI I'm most excited about, where brands can actually use AI to show me, I can go like a dress and then see what it's going to look like on a person of my size,
Or on
and that
yourself.
would be great.
Yeah.
It will make shopping and just dressing yourself so much more of a positive experience
Mm,
than what it tends to be now, for sure.
yeah. No, I agree. Totally agree. Okay, before we wrap up, I think there are like a couple of things that I just wanted to address as things we could do to make sure we're in the right path of progressing towards a better body positive world. I think it starts with making sure the two places you're in, the most your personal space within the house and your professional space, is body positive.
Yeah.
Like within your house, you're not shaming people. And again, there's so much argument around, oh, it comes from care, protection, making sure others don't say this, so I want to say this, all this. But if within the house you feel confident, um stepping out of the house, your family tells you you look amazing, that makes a world of a difference.
Yeah.
And similarly, going to a workspace where you're not judged based on how you dress.
You're nerdy if you have glasses and acne.
Yeah,
Too
yeah.
smart if you don't.
No, like like I've heard this about like big tech. The dress code is casual, right? In
Yeah.
most of these, tech companies. So people are wearing hoodies, people are wearing like, like there are people who wear pajamas to work. But on some days when I would put in effort and like wear makeup, they would be like, oh, like she would spend a lot of time on just makeup, so she won't have time to work. And like,
Okay.
excuse me, like, is there anything that I was supposed to do that hasn't been done?
Yeah.
Because so different, because the marketing world is the opposite. Because as a marketer, you're actually expected to dress nice, have a style, so I'm just
Tell
like, oh
yourself.
my god, this blows my mind, because I don't want to be forced to do either, right? On days I want to, put on makeup, I want to put on makeup. On days I want to dress casually, not put on makeup, I don't want to put on makeup, right? I just and especially for women in tech and women in STEM to fit in,
Yeah.
they are expected to dress a bit more casually to say that, oh, my brain is where the work is and not where fashion is. And that's so sad, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're shamed for doing stuff and not doing stuff.
Yeah.
So I think creating those spaces are key. And the other big thing is making sure the children, especially teenagers of the next generation, are given that environment to feel confident in themselves
Yeah.
and to be able to like be empathetic towards
Yeah.
other kids, their age.
And honestly, stand up for yourself. I think this
Yeah.
is, it's going to take a lot of energy. Just, I mean, I can tell from just personal experience where if in especially in these situations when you are standing your ground,
Mm.
it makes you very defensive, and it still affects you even if you stood your ground, but you stand your ground once and the second time the person won't comment.
Yeah.
Or maybe even stand your ground 3 times if you have to, and the fourth time maybe that person will stop. But just stand up for yourself and don't be afraid to educate people, because maybe someone won't change, but maybe someone will.
Yeah.
And that's still a step forward.
Yeah, and that I believe is true for anything and everything, because a
Yeah.
lot of the times when you question things and stand up, you're considered to be sensitive. You can't take a joke for a joke. I'm like, no.
Yeah, no, I don't want to take a joke.
Yeah,
That's okay.
yeah, it's not a joke, and I won't take it for
Yeah.
a joke. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's a great note to end the episode. I felt
Yup.
very nice talking about this, to be
Yeah, I
honest.
was really nervous about this episode because I fully expected myself to go off the rails. But I think I was fine. It's such a personal topic.
Yeah,
It's something that still is a struggle for me. Um, but I'm glad we spoke about it.
yeah, same. Okay,
Yeah.
see you in the next
Well,
episode and hope you'll
sure.
enjoy this. Thank you and
Bye.
bye.